Mayor, whenever you're ready.
Okay, only item that I have that I asked Jackie to bring forward is we have the bid for the demolition of the old deck. And there were 5 bids, ranged from 1.6 million down to 774,000. The low bid was Tomlin Excavating and Demolition. I don't have details about them. If we need to get Leanne over here, we can. It's $774,260.85, and they've got 170 days. I was a little concerned because most of them had about 120 days, but Calvin assures me that if they finish it sooner, that'll benefit them. So he doesn't expect it to go that long at all. I know I said something to Jackie, and we were a little concerned about that, but I think, and the whole idea we asked them in the bid was that they would have to start by January the 6th, but they couldn't start before that because of what we did for our downtown businesses. So I guess what we're trying to do is, in order for that to follow through, we need this group and the finance committee to pass it along to the council so we can approve moving forward with it.
So, a couple of questions I have is, one, where are they from? Does it state that? Because I know they're specialized contractors.
They are from Birmingham.
Okay.
Which one is that?
That's the one, Tomlin Excavating. They were all, as my understanding, they were all from out of town, but they were from inside the state of Alabama.
Okay.
So the issue that came up with the fire department, well, we changed that language anyway, not gonna make a difference.
So can you read those?
The names?
Yes, and then where they're all from?
Well, now I don't have where the rest of them, that's just for
Okay.
this one.
All right, don't worry about it.
But they were Bostic Trucking, Brett Demolition.
Tell the amounts again.
All right, Bostic Trucking was 1.657 million. Brett Demolition was 1,090,000. Complete Demolition was 891,000. Engel Demolition was 799,000. And Tomlin Excavating and Demolition was 774,260.85.
And then all those bids, it did state that they are in control of street closures, not the city, correct? Because of the specific specialized style of demolition.
And liability.
Because that's what I've been telling to all the surrounding businesses that have asked me that. And I've also told them, so please correct me if I'm wrong, that Mobile Street, the westbound lane, is not supposed to close. That's the side in front of Jack's and Lava Room. And that if Pine closes, it would stay open as a 2-lane north-south
That's right.
at all times, correct?
So you're gonna have the northern part of Mobile Plaza, not Mobile, but Mobile Street, closest to Jack's, will remain open, and the sidewalk.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm telling them correctly,
That's right.
and none of that had changed. Because they asked again this morning. I think that's my only 2 questions.
I believe 2 million was budgeted for the demolition. So it was, but I think it was about 2 million. And I think what's left from that bond issue is less than $1 million. So whatever's left in that bank account could cover bottom 3.
But that was the second bond issue.
Yeah, for the deck bond. And then you mentioned the other day that in this contract, there was some work to be done for a parking lot.
But this includes, as we talked with DFA and we looked at this, is it includes 53 surface parking spaces. That would be, let's see, that space is a half a block, so it'll basically be a quarter block. closest to Jack's place. We'll still have to determine down the road, you know, how we utilize it, who will park there, that kind of thing. And whatever happens with, you know, City Hall, the laydown is the other space. The plan was you could get 53 more spaces there, so you get just over 100 on that half of the block.
And that,
So the
first half's in this contract.
is in the contract. That was the first question I asked Calvin, and that includes paving and striping.
And lighting, would we do that?
And I mean, the lighting will be pretty much what we've got. I don't know, I have not moved that, how that will change. I mean, that's a dynamic, you know, we'll have the normal street lights there.
I said, if there's any in the parking lot. So,
I wouldn't think you'd be able to get, you know, because some parking lots have to have the grass and the median and all
So when are
that.
they gonna build this parking lot? When would they build it?
They would build it at the end of demolition, so it could be for
Well, I think
100.
we need to get on the same page about City Hall and make sure we're going in the right direction on that.
Well, I asked-
Before we get to that point.
I asked Calvin about that. What they would do is they would pull, if something changes to that, they would pull the paving out of the contract. He would negotiate and pull that out if we needed to.
yeah, and of course that, we've got 90 days.
Yeah,
Work
I'm
that
sure that
out.
we can figure something out here.
Yeah.
We need to figure something out real quick on this.
I agree with Jimmy. We do need to get on the same page, and all council members needs to be abreast of what's going on, even on this. I mean,
Yeah.
So,
can't make a decision in one day, and then you want them to approve this kind of money. We gotta know. They gotta
Well,
know
you-
even, it sounds like y'all have got some plans that wasn't.
no, what I'm focusing on in this meeting is this contract first. And knowing that we've got time to get City Hall done, before the parking lot, well, if that's 90 days, I think we're gonna know what we're doing.
Yeah, and I
within
guess I
90
could have
days.
framed that question better, and I think you answered it before I even asked it, is if we went ahead with this contract and then we got different plans for City Hall and go, hey, we don't need that parking lot right now, could they back it out of there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we won't be locked in.
No.
yeah.
I mean, that was two questions I asked him. You know, one was the paving include there? And if we need to pull it out, and he said yes.
So when were you trying to get this,
Hopefully have it on the next agenda.
so can we get this out to the council this afternoon, let them see?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want them to get this on a Friday and then want them to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause we can go ahead
I mean,
and
if
award
y'all,
it next
and I
week.
guess the question was, when I asked Jacob to set this up, do you want to turn around and have a finance meeting, or just send it out to the council and tell them this group is approved moving forward?
It depends on what this group does.
Well, we either are gonna vote to send it through to finance committee or straight to the council, I assume. Personally,
It will need to come through finance committee.
okay, if you want to go through the finance committee.
Let's
then-
just
Okay.
stay in order.
All right, if it needs to go through that, then that's what we'll do.
Okay.
All right, does anybody else have any questions on it?
But even though it'd have to come through there, I still think the council needs to see.
I mean, we'll send that out.
Yeah,
So,
that gives them time to ask questions.
And then, we just need to get it awarded so they do whatever they need to do to be ready to work January 6th. And so,
so that's why I was trying to get it on.
yeah, sooner we get it on the council.
How soon
the
they have to
better.
know? Is that the,
You know, I mean, by the time they get put all their stuff, I just think that would be better.
how soon they need to know?
I mean, this will be the second meeting in November. If we wait till the first meeting in December, that,
It would- and then,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying, how soon would the contractor need to know?
I don't have an answer to that.
Oh,
but
okay.
There may be a mobilization
Yeah.
in there.
And,
Number of days, you mean?
No, mobilization days.
Well, and my thing is, we want to start on January sixth, because we do not want this running into when downtown Florence business
Yes.
starts picking back up in the spring.
Right.
So we want them to start as quickly as possible after January first. So my personal opinion, I'd like to get it on an agenda as quickly as possible, and if you feel like you can get a finance committee pulled together this week where we can still get it on Tuesday's agenda, that's what I would humbly ask you to do, if we can do that.
I'll let you know.
Okay, you let me know. So I assume we need a motion and a second to send this to finance committee.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any more questions? All in favor? Okay. Anything else that we need to talk about?
Yeah, I'd
Building
like to
plan.
talk about City Hall, if you're okay with that, since we got everybody in here.
Well, okay. I mean, for building and planning committee purposes.
So we have building planning, you have to be involved in it.
Right, right.
I'm like everybody else in here, probably lost a lot of sleep over this and been aggravated about it, first one thing or another. And what we got the other day, that you sent us those options, even the lowest option, we're still knocking on the door of $55, $60 million. So I called Mitch, who's the project manager of
Coley.
Coley, Robbins Morton. And I told him my concerns and, you know, about money and how we wanted to keep it, try to find a way to keep it. And without hesitation, he said, well, we can do that. And I said, well, I don't see it here. How are you doing it? He said, well, you're probably not gonna like what I got gonna say, but I will tell you how you can do it. You can move it across the street, lower it down to a 3-level building, spread it out a little bit, and build it on a slab, because that's all you gotta do with a 3-level building is build it on a slab. You're not going down in the earth, running, you know, poles and everything in the earth. So, long story short, after we talked about it, he put it on paper and sent it to me. And the way he has it mapped out, with fees and everything factored in, whole project cost, would come in at $48 million.
FF&E and everything.
Everything. And even FF&E factored in $3 million, which I don't think we're gonna need $3 million for that. Because, I mean, we talked about possibilities, some of the people, you know, carrying their furniture and things over there. But as I was talking to him and telling him, I think our goal is to get out of this building. If we got a building big enough to hold everybody that's in this building, and then like Gary and Melissa have space over there that they need, we can shrink down that auditorium that's way bigger than we probably need. And we can, I think he told me there was a training area or something that was taking up like a quarter of a floor. We could eliminate that and use the auditorium for training. And of course, when I got off the phone with him, I called Calvin and asked him, was what Mitch was telling me, is it, you know, accurate? And he said, Mitch is shooting straight. He said, if Mitch is telling you he can do that, that can be done. So I think we need to take a hard look at this option, even though I know it's not preferred, you know, by everybody. But last thing I want to do, as I've said many times, is go borrow any more money. And we've got this money, and I certainly feel like it would be bad management on our part not to use that money, because we got it so low. I mean, the phrase free money has been floating around for 3 years. Well, if that's the case, we need to use it if that's the way we can do City Hall. But these other 3 options that they threw out, it's well over $50 million. I could never personally vote for that. And so I don't know where we are. I think we need to look at this 4th option and do it quickly. Take a good look at it so we'll know what we're doing when we start tearing down that over there. We'll kind of have an idea. And I did ask him, why couldn't we do that same build that he mentioned right here where we talked about putting it? It's because he wants to go a little, it would be up against this wall, according to him. He don't have enough room to do it the way that he's talking about doing it. And it would, there would be some minimal, you basically, how big is this building? How many floors?
This one?
The new one.
Six.
The one-
Six.
Six.
It's 6 as well.
So he's basically talking about cutting it in half. You know, taking the 3 levels off, which enables him to do it on a concrete slab and not have to, you know, go dig the big holes in the ground is where he's saving money, according to him.
Well, I guess that's the question with Jackie. How do you want to sit down and put that together? Because, you know, on top of what he sent you, you got this right here too,
What is that?
which is 1.1 million to pay Calvin for what is already design work.
I'm
which
gonna
has to
go
be-
back and double check.
Which was added to that.
I'm gonna go back now, I'm gonna go back and double check with Calvin. I think Calvin told me that his initial 1.5 is factored into this deal here. I'll go back and double check that, because I'm just 95% sure he told me that. But we talked about so many things, it could have been something else. But, I mean, he's got architect fees here of 2.2 million. What was it gonna be on the, just,
I don't have that in front of me. But like I said, how do y'all want
2.8.
well, we got, I think, in my opinion, we need to get Calvin and Mitch in here and just talk to them face to face, because all I know is I'm excited about the part that it keeps us in the framework of the money that we have, that we borrowed to do this project with. And, I mean, even if it were to go over, you know, just a touch, you know, and that's fine, but when you start trying to, you know, cover $10–15 million more, that's a whole different thing, and I'm just throwing numbers out, it don't mean it's gonna be that much more, but this sounds exciting, that it would get everybody out of this building, it would get, you know, Melissa and some of the other essentials into the new building, and then we could figure out if we didn't have enough space after Calvin said it would be minimal redesign, that we would lose the mezzanine that was on the,
but you're talking about across the street.
yes. He said basically you're flipping it over and putting it over there. You're just flipping it over. The front would face Tennessee Street just like it's going to face Tennessee Street now.
So now, let me speak up. And I hear what you're saying, and I do think we need to pause it and look at this. But I ask you, Mayor, for a meeting with the entire council. A lot of this has been floating around. Me as a council member and as the council president, I've not been privy to any of this. We were gone out of town. You guys had a meeting with 3 council members. 3 council members, and I want to ask everybody, please don't interrupt me. Let me finish. 3 council members can't make this decision when you got 3 don't have a clue of really what's going on, designs and all of this. And then I asked for a meeting for all the council, and when I called to get that set up, wonder why, what I was told was, you told them not to do it. You told them not to schedule a meeting with all the council. I haven't said anything, but you can't stop a meeting for the council, because the council is the council. So I'm going to reschedule that meeting, and I do plan for it to move forward with the council. All of what's been said, I don't think we can make any major decisions until the full council is brought up full speed. I know when we were out of town a week or so ago, you guys had a meeting, and all we did was get an email on what y'all discussed. Still to this day, we have not talked to anybody except bits and pieces. You can't operate, to me, a city like that, a council like that, and certainly a project of this magnitude like that without full council's input. And everybody have a right to have an input. So I don't want to move forward on anything. If few council members have asked me stuff, I can't answer them anything because I don't know anything. Nobody has thought enough of me to bring me up to speed, and it's wrong in what you guys have done. That's where I stand.
Wrong what you guys have done?
whoever, I don't know, I didn't call no names, whoever, that we don't know besides bits and pieces. How can we move forward when the full council don't know?
Well, I don't disagree with you, Ms. Simmons, at all.
But you stopped the meeting. You told them not to schedule my meeting.
But,
That's
I
what they
gave
told
you-
me.
All right, they asked, Jackie and Jimmy asked for a meeting, and you were out of town, but we met.
But I asked for a meeting before I left town.
I understand that.
Okay, go ahead.
And we hadn't gotten there yet, and I'm glad to move forward. And I asked you the recent meeting, I'd like to, what's the next step? We did talk about that, and we never come to that point. But that meeting, I said, we need to send information, and all the other three council got notes from that meeting. I know that didn't answer all your questions, and my question to them was, and I asked Michelle the same thing, do we want to have the same meeting with the other three? Or do we want to have a meeting with everybody? What I did was
But why you gonna talk
what-
to every council meeting, but council member but me?
Answered their questions, I sent to the entire council. And since then, you and Michelle were sitting there. I said, what's the next step you want? So this is the first opportunity we've had to say that. And if that's what y'all wanna do, I mean, Jimmy brought that up. And, and this is the perfect time to do it. If that's where we go, I mean, we had the three options there. If we need that fourth option, we need that all on the plate to talk about. And, we met before as a committee. I'd bring that committee in and sit down and talk about it. So however you want,
Which committee are you talking about?
The building.
the building committee that we sat down and talked about,
The first one that I was,
Robbins and Morton.
Yes. Yeah, that
And I think everything we've talked about would suggest that having a contract with somebody like Robbins and Morton is the way for us to move forward, whichever direction. Option 1, 2, 3, 4, option 2 was some connection to the old building, and everybody's gotten a copy of that. So, and, that was what we got back from Calvin after his discussion with Robbins and Morton. So, if that's where you wanna go, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
I think that's where we need to go, everybody at the table at one time, and so even now we can hear Jimmy's, the fourth option that Jimmy just presented, not Jimmy's option, but that Jimmy just presented,
Well,
and everybody can weigh in on it, instead of getting it in bits and pieces. You can't move like that.
well, Jimmy does not need to be presenting this to the full council. We need Calvin.
Well, the
and
first
Mitchell.
meeting was requesting that everybody be here.
Well, and I feel your frustration over your meeting that you
You
want to
couldn't
do.
possibly.
I feel your frustration over your meeting that didn't happen, but it can still happen if you want it to happen. But the way it happened with us, he had called me that morning and was asking me about stuff about City Hall. And I called him back that afternoon, and we're yin-yanging on the phone. And he said, well, why don't you just come by here? Jackie's coming by later on. Just come by, and whatever questions y'all got, ask me. So it wasn't like a planned, it was a very spontaneous thing. It wasn't like planned, okay, they're out of town, we're gonna have a meeting. It didn't go down that way at all. But I do feel what you're saying, and I'm welcome to meet with the entire council. But he is right. I know he sent everybody exactly, what we ended up talking about while y'all were in Pensacola, because I read it. But, if that's the route you want to go, you call a meeting. I think you're certainly, you certainly have a right to have a meeting, just like he has a right to have a meeting. I mean, he can call a meeting.
I never said he did.
And-
I
well,
just
I know
said he
that.
stopped my meeting.
But I know, but
That I
in 4 years,
requested.
in 4 years, he's probably called me to his office 10 times for little things, chatting about where you think about this, what you think.
That's not my issue. He has a right as the mayor to speak to anybody he wants to.
Okay.
But he doesn't have a right to stop when I call a meeting.
My intent, and it was never an issue about stopping the meeting. His mission, are we ready? And it sounds like we've got some information, but we're ready to have a meeting, a full-fledged meeting with everything.
So do y'all wanna get together and set a date afterwards and do that? Get with Elizabeth in the calendar and do that? Is that, I mean, that's what I'm hearing, is that to get your meeting on the calendar ASAP.
Yes, yes.
Well,
I'll call a meeting.
Let me just say, too, I mean, this has been a long process.
It
I mean,
has.
everything we've done to this date has gotten approval from the council. From our parking deck, our payment center, all the pieces and parts, the drilling, everything we had to do to make that happen. So, this project started back before I was on board. I mean, Melissa and others been a part of it and about making some of these decisions as we move forward. So I think what y'all got the last time is as close as we could get, because we never started with the entire construction cost. We talked about, I mean, the entire project cost. And this is when we've narrowed it down to that. And I think the issue is when we started, and with COVID, construction costs have gone up about 20%. So we're kind of in line with where we were, because when we first started talking about the numbers, and what it would cost, that was a best guess scenario.
Andy, nobody's faulting
No,
anybody.
I'm not saying,
It happens. I mean,
I'm not saying that.
Crap
And
happens.
we need to make a good, wise decision.
Yeah.
Get past that. I don't have a problem with that. So I think we've got 4 things in our, sort of in our wheelhouse there. So like I said, however y'all wanna call a meeting and do it, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I had never intention to not meet K-Train. I just never, that was not my, it was a point trying to get information together so we'd have the right kind of meeting, because
But
I mean,
you
I'm-
didn't even convey that with me. All I was told was, mayor says don't schedule it,
well, I don't know how that got across. That was never my intent.
to hold off.
All right, so.
And if that been, hold on, Mr. Hendricks, if that been the case, I just out of respect to me, out of position, you should have talked to me as a mayor, I think. You're free to talk to everybody else. You can talk to me. Regardless if you may have any personal feelings against me, doesn't matter, don't care. We got to work together. I want to work together. So we are gonna have to communicate.
All right, so I'm gonna bring this back to where we were. We've made a motion in a second and voted on moving it to the finance committee. You're gonna call a finance committee, as soon as possible, so that we can get it on the agenda as soon as possible. We've established we've got at least 90 days to work out the city hall situation prior to not hold up the progress on the demolition of the parking deck. And only have, and then y'all are gonna meet afterwards to get your meeting with Elizabeth, to get some dates, to get your meeting sent out to the council.
I'll go back and look at my calendar and
Yeah.
I'll
So-
contact Elizabeth
All
and the mayor.
right, so,
And that's why I asked the question about the parking deck, because if we sit down with everybody in the room and with Mitch and Calvin and everybody on the committee, and they think that is a good option to stay within the framework of the money we got, well then, it's okay that the deck's coming on down, but I would hate to see them start on a parking lot if
See,
we
that's
do go.
at the far end.
I think we'll
But
have
didn't you
all
say
this
that
wrapped up by
we have
then.
an option to, if the council decides something, that we have an option to not move forward with that?
With the parking.
With the
lot.
parking lot
With the
option.
parking
They-
lot.
It'll still be the same, but they can back out of the part of
I mean, the
the
deck's
wash
gonna be,
having.
the deck's gonna be torn down regardless.
It'd just be just a full gravel
Gotcha.
lot instead of a
Okay.
half and half.
So
So one
this-
last
This
question,
would not
Mayor.
That's the
affect,
demolition
this would not affect the scenario that
that you
that
just told,
Jimmy's-
okay.
But that could affect the scenario on the end of this with the final phase of the parking lot. So, one last question on the contract. Is it a full turnkey contract? I mean, all the demolition, debris removal, when they're finished, we're gonna have either a full gravel lot or the half and half like we're talking about.
that's my understanding. I would, we can
Okay.
confirm that with Calvin.
We're talking
That's,
fees,
I mean, that's what we talked about.
the charges at the landfills, all that's in their contract, as far as
Absolutely.
you know.
Permits too.
The permit, because is that state permitting they have to get for that as well?
Well, we'll issue a We normally issue permits for city projects, so it'd be a demolition permit.
That they pay for.
And
Yeah,
then
they charge for that,
It
correct?
should be in the,
Yeah, and then they pay our
If we
landfill,
back
that's
it
where
out.
they
If we
take.
back that out.
It'll be
So,
much less.
that's uneasy.
yeah, no matter where they take
Concrete's
it,
heavy.
it should be in there.
All right,
yeah.
if that's the case, and we're,
Did y'all hear my question?
I'm sorry, no, I didn't.
Okay, I was asking if, those figures, those bid figures, that's the bottom line with everything, if, he said if it goes,
If we decide to take the parking lot out, that price would come down.
less.
Right, yeah, you said that, I think earlier, I heard that, so,
I just want y'all to hear what I asked him.
perfect. All right, is there anything else?
No, I just want to reiterate to Melissa, who I know has worked hard on this, and Gary and everybody else, that I don't mean to come across difficult on this. I'm just trying to stay in the framework of the money that when we told the citizens 3 years ago that we're gonna build a city hall and this is how much we need, that's all I'm trying to do. And it doesn't matter to me if we build it in the middle of a short court, if we keep it in the middle, and somewhere in that price range that we got. Because nobody, you're exactly right, nobody knew 3 years ago that, prices are gonna skyrocket. I mean, there's a lot of people looking for houses right now that thought 3 years ago they could own a home, and they're finding out prices have gone up so much they can't even buy a house. So if they can't live their lifestyle, I don't think we ought to borrow more money to work in the lifestyle that we wanna work in. That's all I got.
And we said we needed every option on the table, so I appreciate you bringing another option to, because there are no bad ideas when you go through a process like this. All right,
With
there's
the
nothing
council
else.
members that I've talked to, nobody is saying that they didn't want it. They just want to make sure that we get this right.
Yeah.
That's all
I'm
I've
with
said.
you
Nobody
there.
said, no, don't do it. They just want to make sure that everybody's aware and that when we're gonna, if we proceed to do this, that we get it right, because whatever happens, it's gonna be from generations coming when we didn't go. Whether we on the council or not on the council.
You're not gonna be here in 70 years?
Yeah, I think I will.
I'm fixing to gavel us out. You got one more
He's
thing?
got to go get pictures made.
But you want me to go ahead and send this to the council?
Yeah, so they'll,
Finance.
yeah, no, the council. So they'll be able to see.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
They got time
schedule
enough to
finance.
answer
Okay.
questions before, instead of,
And
Yeah,
that way you don't have to have no meeting
And
consideration, just ask the
Elizabeth's got the
questions now.
documents,
And then
if
finance committee, I guess. is
it can
really-
be
I'm gonna call
a
the
contract
conversation.
for the council meeting, next council meeting if we need it.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, I got it, adjourned.
Go get your picture taken.